Hey, what's up, good people? How you doing? Welcome back to Stock Up with Larry Jones. We're going to talk about Tesla. We're going to talk about what's going on with the market move up and down, and just kind of help you focus on today and where to place your money. All right, we'll see you in a second. All right, good people. Listen, there's a lot going on, and you will see some market movement. Okay, there is some market movement, and I talked to my family. I talked to all of the good people in Money Moves. Okay, I talked to all of the good people in Money Moves and let them know what is going on in real time. So here's what's one of the things that happened today. Let's go through this. This happened about an hour ago. Bessett, that's Scott Bessett, okay? Scott Bessett says he expects de-escalation in U.S.-China tariff fight in a very near future, okay? Fight in the very near future. So he expects a de-escalation, okay? Treasury Secretary Scott Bessett says he expects there will be a de-escalation in President Donald Trump's trade war with China in the very near future. Bessett called the sky-high tariff fight between Washington and Beijing unsustainable. You guys know I've been saying that, regardless of what you feel, your politics, this is unsustainable. Bessett spoke at a private investors summit in Washington hosted by J.P. Morgan Chase on the sidelines of the World Bank meeting this week. So this was a private meeting. This was not a public statement. It was a private statement made by Scott Bessent, who is the Treasury Secretary, right? And a lot of people think him and the other gentleman, they're the architects. I forget his name right now. They're the architects behind this trade war, okay? And so that's what's going on. So now, here's what I expect. I expect the White House to douse water on this statement because that's what's been happening, okay? And I'm only talking about it as it pertains to our money. So I expect good news, bad news, good news, bad news, because that's what's been whipsawing the market, right? So let's see what's going on with the NASDAQ as we could see. So we could see the NASDAQ reacted very positively to that. And why the NASDAQ? Because I'm keeping my eye on big tech. I'm keeping my eye on the MAG 7 and Tesla, which we will cover later in this video. So we could see, this is intraday. We could see we had a spike up right here. Boom, look at that. Spiked up. Here's where the news hit. It ran up. All right, we were already up in the pre-markets. So we literally today regained all of the losses. At this point, we regained all of the losses from yesterday, okay? And so now that there's talk about, hey, look, if you further read into this, there's no deals done yet. This is going to take time. What's the problem, Larry? The problem is that the White House says 90 days. In reality, China's looking at 3 years to work out this deal. So therein lies the problem. How quick will this deal get worked out? Okay. So as you could see from the top of today, we came down a full percentage point on the NASDAQ, right? And the S&P, you're going to see the same thing. From the high, we pulled back almost a full percentage after a nice run up, still up almost 2%. Okay, so now what was leading this? And I always keep my eye on that. What was leading this? What reacted first? It was Bitcoin at 91%, up 8.43% over the last 7 days. And over the last day, we got 5% in the last 24 hours. Actually, Bitcoin is outperforming XRP for the day. That's huge, okay? And then we got Solana in there too. I have a ton of Bitcoin and Solana, so these numbers look good to me. You got Dogecoin coming in there, some other ones. I'm looking at the big ones. Avalanche, 7.5%. You got Sui, which I have a ton of, at 11%. So that's where I am with crypto, good people. Right now, I do have a little bunk, okay? I do have, not a little bunk, I do have some bunk, and what else I have? And I do have a little sheep, but 80% of what I have are the big boys. Bitcoin, I really don't have that much ETH, okay? I have a lot of XRP, but I have more Solana and Sui, those type of Link. I have those altcoins, all right, and more of those, okay? But my biggest position by far is Bitcoin because I want to become a Bitcoin maximalist, okay? So what's going on with the White House? The White House is closed on Japan, India tariff agreement, but expect them to be light on specifics. That's what's coming out of the White House. The White House has not tweeted or come out and said no to Scott Bessett's statement, but I just only expect there to be a barrage of questions towards the White House, and I expect that the White House will say, pump your brakes, there's no deals, nothing is concrete, which will be true, but the market may kind of pause and cool off, as you can see that today. All right, let's give a listen.
More about those Besant comments about the trade war with China. Eamon?
Kelly, that's right. I have a source who was in the room who's given me a written rough transcript of exactly what Besant said at that conference yesterday. I want to bring it to you because obviously it's moving the market today. According to this source in the room, what the Treasury Secretary said was no one thinks the current status quo is sustainable at 145 and 125% in terms of the relationship with tariffs with China. He says, so I would posit that over the very near future, there will be de-escalation. And I think that that should give the world, the markets, a sigh of relief. He also goes on to say, I do say China is going to be a slog in terms of the negotiations because that engagement started. I would not yet. But I think, again, I think neither side thinks the status quo is sustainable. But I've said quite a bit. So what Besant is saying here is that neither the United States nor the Chinese side thinks that the trade relationship is sustainable between the two countries. And he also says here that he views this ultimately as an embargo between the two countries, that it's ultimately going to have to lead to some kind of negotiation. And he talks about the idea of rebalancing the two nations' trade relationship together. He says they have stifled the consumer economy and favored manufacturing. We want to increase manufacturing. The identity of that would be less consumption. And if somehow I could see a Ray Dalio essay on this, like a big, beautiful rebalancing, if we walk out the door of negotiations and sign something in 2 or 3 years that looked like that, I would think that it's a huge win. And then the trade practices, the goal of that is not that hard a break. We want to stay engaged, but it's going to be more fair. So that's a summary, again, from a person who was in the room of exactly what the Treasury Secretary told that audience at the J.P. Morgan event yesterday, guys.
So a lot of people have been asking me, what do you think about gold? I think you're late to gold. Gold trades sideways for years. I'm not telling you not to buy gold. Anything I say is not a suggestion for you to buy, hold, or sell. The people that are winning with gold are the ones that's been holding gold for years. And I'm just not a fan of buying gold at the top. I don't have any gold. I have digital gold, and that digital gold is called Bitcoin, and it's doing well today. You could see that after the news, that Scott Bessett news, that the White House was saying, hey, or should I say Scott Bessett further went on to say this could take a while and nothing is confirmed and no talks have really been had, then you could see gold started to kind of tick down. It actually hit all-time highs before then. Look at that. Boom. And then what? We started the tick down. You could see that. Bam. And so, yeah, year to date, had you got it at the beginning of the year, you'd be killing it in gold. In a year's time, you'd be slaying it in gold. Right now, you could be buying it at the top. Of course, it could move higher if a further rhetoric comes out of the White House. And then Warren Buffett, I'm one of them. I thought he was crazy for selling all of his stock at the time, his Apple stock at the time that he did. Well, Mr. Buffett, my hat's off to you. $110 billion move. You couldn't have timed it any better than he did. And so that's why, good people, there's a lot of wisdom in people that have been doing this and killing it in this area long term. So, for some of you guys that are young, you say that old dude don't know what he's talking about. You don't know what you're talking about. And just that one move, let me tell you, there is a lot of wealth in wisdom, right, in our older generation. So Mr. Warren Buffett is who he is because of moves like this. $110 billion move. Wow. All right, let's talk about Tesla, good people. A lot of people want to know, Larry, since you got this video out before the market closed, should I buy Tesla? I'm going to tell you, I don't know. Now, a lot of analysts think that it's going down, right? That they're going to miss numbers and delivery because of all of the controversy, Doge, Elon not being focused on the company, which he was not. He ticked off America, he ticked off China, and the tree huggers that actually buy his cars, he ticked them off. And so there's a lot of downward pressure. And then if you can look, I got this on a 30-day, and as you could see from the 15th, it trended down all the way to the 17th, all right, of April. So you can see here, the 15th to the 18th, it was in a downtrend, but then it started an uptrend right here on the 22nd. You see here, boom. And so it's real tricky. And all I'm going to say is just without any technicals, and then you put volume in there, it tells you a story. All I could say is that it's a total gamble at this point. A miracle could happen and, it could go up, right? So now what I'm going to do to let you guys know now, I'm going to do a spread, right? I'm going to buy a call and a put on Tesla pre-earnings. Now, you guys know I don't do that. Right now, I'm doing that for the class, for the sake of the class. I am going to buy a call and a put on Tesla and see which one prints. What class you're talking about, Larry? Money Moves, where we are deep into our options for Dummies class. Well, we really just got started, okay? So come and join us. Options for Dummies. I pulled back on giving any calls to teach and buy before next month is over, we will be trading options. So come on, join us. It'll be a pinned comment. You'll see a comment that pops up on your screen or in the description. It's called Money Moves, and we have options for dummies, and we're really focusing on our long-term plays. So I give you guys what I'm buying for my long-term plays on the extreme red days like yesterday. But I'm also teaching this class, and we will have guests for absolute beginners. If you're a trained options trader, this is not for you. Okay, good people? So we will see what Tesla does at closing bell, and you really have to pay attention to forward guidance. Sorry about that, good people. That's off to forward guidance. What is the forward guidance going to be on the earnings call? So the earnings call may move the stock more than the earnings numbers. Okay, so just be careful if you're entering into options. Again, I'm going to buy a call and a put for the sake of showing the class so far what we've learned and what we're going to further learn. All right, good people, we're going to leave it right there. Don't forget, come join us. All right, less than $1 a day. All right, and we will see you tomorrow. Live, love, laugh, and learn.